AI has changed and shifted the game a lot, but I think for us as security people, I think it's becoming more interesting. It was becoming a bit dull and run of the mill for past few years, trying same payload, same tools, right, running same scripts. But AI coming into the picture, there are now two avenues. One, attacking the AI itself, so that's interesting in itself. We are seeing some new attack vectors. Even we are doing some interesting pen test around AI, writing a handbook which will soon release free. And the other avenue is using AI to do the attack part, using AI to attack and attacking the AI. Both are very interesting. Maybe someday it will be like AI attacking AI.
Welcome to the Phillip Wylie Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wylie.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Phillip Wylie Show. Today I'm joined by Sudhanshu Chauhan. We got to meet in person at Black Hat Middle East and Africa this past December. Familiar with his company, Red Hunt Labs, and just kind of before starting the episode, looking at some of his past history, familiar with the places he used to work at, and he does a lot for the community. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks for having me. And thanks for inviting me to your podcast. It was a really great meeting you at Black Hat Middle East last year. So, as you mentioned about my story, right, how I got started into this space. So, it started all in college when I was doing my bachelor's in technology. So, I was a computer science graduate. So, obviously, I was inclined and interested into how computers work, how to tinker around with them. During that phase, I picked up few of the books, interesting books around hacking and how to do application security and stuff. During that same time, I also started to tinker around with my college network, and I found out some of the issues, some of the vulnerabilities, so to speak, which I reported to the head of IT, and they asked me to scan the network of the college, find issues, report it to them, give them suggestions, and that is how I got interested into the space. When I started somewhere around 2011, 2012, there's not too many job roles, specifically in my region, my area, which is India primarily. There were very little companies were offering a pen tester job role. So I was looking out for them, wrote some articles around different vulnerabilities, different tools like Wireshark and stuff. But eventually I got a job as pen tester. I started in 2012. Primarily, I was a web application pen tester, network pen tester. That's how I got started. Doing web application security and pen testing, I was also very interested in recon from my early days. So I started partnering with one of my colleagues and wrote a book around hacking about open source intelligence and recon. It was called Hacking Web Intelligence. And that led me to the path of security, offensive security, doing recon, finding stuff, sharing knowledge about that. And that's how I got started. Then I moved on to start a company somewhere around 2014. It was called as Octogens. We were primarily into, again, web security and stuff. Yeah, I had to let that go because of some internal discussions and the directions the team and the company was taking. So I let that go. I joined Not So Secure as a senior security consultant. Delivered a lot of trainings there, did a lot of offensive security, pen testing, red teaming kind of stuff. In 2019, I joined forces with my co-founder Shubham to start this company called as Red Hunt Labs. We were primarily clubbing the things that we were interested in, as I mentioned, open source intelligence, recon, web security. So we clubbed all the things together and created a platform around attack surface management, giving the visibility that the companies need about their assets, their technology, their third-party assets on the internet. So that is a journey. Regarding the community part that you mentioned, we have always been interested in learning and sharing with the community. And that's why Shubham and I also started Recon Village somewhere around 6-7 years back. So that happens at DEF CON every year. So we religiously have been going to DEF CON for past 7-8 years and doing the Recon Village, hosting people from different avenues, giving them platform to speak, sharing the tools that people are creating around the Recon space. So yeah, that has been the journey so far. So I'm currently running Red Hunt Labs as a co-founder and still running Recon Village as a community thing. So yeah, that's a bit of my journey.
Very cool. And just because mentioned earlier, so you're not only on the review board for Black Hat Middle East and Africa, I see you're also on the review board for Black Hat USA. So what about Kazanu or Black Hat in general?
So yeah, I've been part of Black Hat Asia. This year, I also was part of Black Hat EU. So review board journey is still very interesting. You get to see what is the latest happening in the market, what are the new avenues of research. AI obviously being one of the predominant ones. So I started as part of Black Hat review board somewhere around 5 6 years back. Initially as Black Hat Asia, and then eventually I also joined Black Hat ME as same as you. And this year I was also a guest reviewer for Black Hat EU. It's a great journey. You get to interact with people who are dealing with this new technology all the time. You get to understand what is their POV. You get to interact with people from different regions. So what's happening in Asia, what's happening in EU, what's happening in US, you get to know the whole of geographical distributions about. So as I see Asia or Southeast Asia, they are more exploit driven, more attack driven, but US is more balanced. They see, okay, defense is also given a decent importance compared to not just being offensive. Yeah, so we get to learn a lot from each of these people, and we get to see what are the latest research and get to select. Sometimes it becomes difficult because there could be 2 to 3 talks which are really on the edge, really bleeding edge, and you have to decide because the slots are limited, of course. So you have to decide which one you have to let go or keep as a B lister. But yeah, interesting journey, interesting learning experience, and interesting discussions happen during those calls.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So far, I've gotten to go to all the different Black Hats except for Black Hat Asia. I got to go to Black Hat Europe back in 2022. I was working with a company that was a product company, and I worked the booth there, so I got to attend there. But another conference I kind of like in that area, I guess it's a little more, maybe a little more commercialized that I got to attend during that time, to, or the next year was Info Security Europe. I got to attend that conference.
Yeah, Asia is also a good conference, Black Hat Asia. You get a decent crowd. You get a lot of students there, a lot of interesting people from different regions, from China, from Singapore. So a lot of people coming in from India, and you get to see a lot of new research. More focus on offense, 0 day, that kind of stuff. As I see in general, but yeah, it's a bit different from US, I would say. It's still commercial. Obviously, it's a conference, so it has to be. There are business booths and everything, but some of the talks are really interesting, really edgy there.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed, like the Info Security Europe, I was looking for places to submit CFPs in Info Security Europe. I didn't see a place because whenever I was there in 2023, the company I worked for had a booth and they had a slot for a workshop. So I taught a workshop for them, and I was going back looking at ways to submit, and it seems like the only way to be involved is if you're a vendor and somehow sponsoring the conference. Of course, it's not the case of Black Hat. And one of the things I like about the Black Hat conferences is, they've got to get sponsors to pay for the conference, but the majority of the content is not driven by,
Great
trying to
content.
sell a product.
Definitely, definitely. And that's one of the key aspects of being a review board. You have to be mindful that it's not a sales pitch, it's not a product push. It's more of a research, it's something novel, it's something done at scale, or something which is intriguing and interesting for people to learn and not just commercially motivated. Obviously, there is business booth and that has to be there. The conference has to run, of course. But they have different trainings, they have different specific avenues for AI summit, like fintech summit. So a lot of interesting things happening around there.
So yeah, it's interesting also that you co-founded the Recon Village. That's pretty cool. So I have to make sure to stop by there this year. But for some of the folks that are not familiar with the company you used to work for, Not So Secure, because before we started the call, you said that you actually did some training for them back in the day.
Yes.
That used to be some of the most sought after training at Black Hat was the Not So Secure training. I know they offered some things that a lot of other companies weren't offering, and just hadn't heard as much about them, I guess, since they got acquired. But for the people that are, may have not heard of them back in the day, they were like one of the most sought after trainings. So do you still do any kind of workshops and training?
Yeah, we do. So at Black Hat US and Asia, we sometimes do training. It is again more focused on what we do, which is recon. So it's tactical recon for pen testers. So which combines identifying and discovering a lot of stuff on the internet, finding about companies, their acquisitions, their assets, their subdomains, and their vendors, and all the stuff like that. So identifying the footprint of a company. And once you identify the footprint, then what are the attack vectors? But more focus is on discovery part. So you got first and foremost, as I say, you can only protect what you see, right? You can only protect what you are aware of. So the first and foremost part of that training or majority of day one is around discovery. And the second day is more focused toward attacking what you discovered from different avenues, because attacking a web application is different from attacking a third party supply chain, attacking a library, attacking a subdomain. So all these things are different. And first and foremost, you have to create a complete picture, attack surface of a company. And then the second day, we focus more on the attacking phase. But yeah, we do trainings at Black Hat mostly, but we have kept it exclusive for some years now. We only do it Black Hat US and Asia so far. Once in Black Hat EU, I believe, as well. But yeah, we do workshops, we do deliver trainings.
Very cool. So since you've, really a fan of the Recon and OSINT, do you think it's being utilized to its full extent these days, or do you think it's not being used as much as it should have? Because, you've been in this for, you've been on the offensive security side for over a decade. So you've seen the evolution of stuff. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's being underutilized?
It can still be utilized more, I would say. So some people have started understanding it more detail, but it's not that cool, to be honest. For example, running an exploit, getting a shell, right? Running a metapreter and then jumping, pivoting through, that is more interesting for people. But what some people fail to realize that you need to have the visibility first and foremost. Because once you have the visibility, you can try different attack vectors, right? If you have a very specific set of IPs, domains, or subdomains to attack, you can only try certain things. But once you have the complete picture, it is not just about IPs or subdomains, about the supply chain, about third-party assets, about the tech stack they're running, right? Going through their LinkedIn job post and identifying what are they hiring for, and understanding, okay, they might be looking for this specific tech stack, which means they are using it internally. So why not find out what are the assets that are running that particular tech stack and then try to attack it, right? So it still needs the glory and fame that it deserves, because it is the first phase of any attack, right? You can't attack anything. You have to have that attack surface map. You have to have what are you going to attack. So I believe it still needs some more recognition. We have tried that through Recon Village, that people learn more about it, people get to understand more about it, and then do the attacking part. We have done a lot of workshops around that. Even we wrote an open source tool called as Datasploit, inspired from Metasploit, of course. So Datasploit was all about just the discovery part. Given a domain name, what can you get? Given an email address, what can you find about that person? Right? Given a subdomain, what can you find about that subdomain? So the idea of Datasploit was to identify anything and everything possible about anything, a domain, a company, an email address, a username. For example, if we have a username, we can try on different platforms if the same username is used and maybe the credentials are leaked in somewhere. Try HIBP, have I been pawned, and the sources identify, okay, this user can be compromised from this place, and then pivoting through the journey. So yes, some people have started realizing it. Again, now the attack surface is expanding, right? As you know, are into AI space. AI attack surface is something new, right? People are utilizing AI. People are using AI to do a lot of automation, creating agentic stuff, but they are not realizing that they are also creating an extra footprint now, right? So I need to identify if there's a chatbot, what it might leak for my internal application. We are now seeing a lot of pen tests coming at our side as well, where there's a lot of chatbots, a lot of integrations of AI and LLMs into products, into applications of our customers, but without realizing what are the guardrails, what are the protections. So as soon as we identify, okay, this is AI, so the attack vector changes now, right? I don't need to send a XSS payload into that. I need to identify what is the LLM that's running. Can I poison it? Can I try to jailbreak it? Can I extract some data out of it, which is internal to them and they don't want to reveal that? So discovery, recon, or open source intelligence, whatever name we give it, all of these are very important in my opinion. They are getting their due respect slowly, but still a long way to go, I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things to think back to is Jason Haddock's bug bounty recon talk that
Methodology.
he's given for many years, and the way it's expanded his stuff. And just seeing the type of stuff he was able to find, leveraging that, it just seems like sometimes, especially when you're getting started out, you're too anxious to get into the hacking things. You want to drop shells, you want to exploit stuff, but you overlook. And sometimes it seems like if you're not doing the proper reconnaissance, you could
Exactly.
miss an easier way in or miss the only way in at all.
Exactly. And if you give enough time to recon, you might not have to give a longer time to like exploitation. You might just find a server which is old, which is running an older tech stack, and it is running default credentials. It was just a matter of identifying that this domain, this subdomain, this IP, this web application, it is associated to your target. So it's just a matter of finding that most of the times. But you have to give it some time and learn the techniques. As you mentioned, Jason Hedix has given a lot of trainings, methodologies, tools around that. Even at Recon Village, he has delivered that talk a couple of times, different versions of it. So yeah, very, very thankful to Jason to promote the OSINT and the recon part as well. But yeah, you rightly mentioned it's just a matter of sometimes doing the right recon and not doing the lot of exploitation. It's just sometimes a simple default login.
So with the way security has evolved in technology, how the tech stack is so much different than when you guys started out, if someone wanted to be an offensive security professional, what would be your recommendations to learn that skill set?
I would say skill set wise, I'll come to the skill set later, but one of the most important things that I teach or I mentor even our junior folks is curiosity, right? Technical stuff you can teach people, right? If they are somewhat technical, they understand basic Linux, they understand basic networking, you can teach them advanced stuff eventually. But the curiosity part is something which is really hard to ingrain into someone who is new into the field. So first and foremost, I tell them that be interested, be intrigued, right? Be enthusiastic about what we are doing here. Try to learn as much as you can. Try to broaden your spectrum first. Don't just say, okay, I want to be a web application pen tester. I will learn how to do XSS, IDOS, SQL injections. First, try to expand your attack surface, your knowledge attack surface. Try to understand what is in the network, what is an IP, how does the API work, right? Try to understand these from the backend perspective. Once the curiosity part is done, then I would say understanding the mindset of the person you are trying to attack. When I say person, not the person directly, of course, but if you are a web application pen tester, you're essentially trying to break something which someone built, someone as a developer built, right? So you have to understand how a developer works. You have to understand how a developer reacts, how a developer creates an application, what are their components, what are their thought processes. So once you understand that, then it becomes easier to understand, okay, there's a client side, there's a server side, there's a backend, there is a database. Then you can understand, okay, which attack vector will fit in which scenario, right? You can't just blindly send some payload and expect them to work. Curiosity and the mindset of what and who you are trying to attack in terms of obviously being a legal pen tester. And then I would say recon, of course, as we already discussed a lot. Recon is first and foremost your best tool in your arsenal, which will give you wings once you understand it truly, and it will help you speed up your process multifold, in my opinion. Because once you do the right recon, if you have given a web application, it's not just about doing a basic crawl. You can find historic URLs, you can discover all the JSS possibles, right? You can try to fuzz for any parameters which are not you're not seeing in your burp suite, in your proxy. So once you do all that recon, your attack becomes much powerful. You can try to multiple new avenues of exploration, multiple new attack vectors. So I would say these three are my first and foremost, like curiosity, attacking the mind, understanding the mindset of what and who you're trying to attack. And thirdly, the recon part. Rest, I think they are relatively easier to teach, relatively easier to understand as you grow in your career, as you interact with more of your target, your web application, mobile application network. But these three are the fundamentals in my opinion.
Great advice. So what are your favorite reconnaissance tools?
Earlier it was data exploit, but since few years we haven't picked it up and polished it. We have some internal tools, but I would say Project Discovery has created some good tools like this HTTPX to discover and crawl stuff. There are a couple of in-house tools that we have created, which are available on research.redhandlabs.com. They're completely free, open source. So we have created certain tools around bucket loot. There are a couple of tools like Trufflehawk, which is really interesting. Again, it does kind of a recon. You give it application, a GitHub repository, and you can find secrets and sensitive information. And it's a direct win if you find something actually running, right? So I would say HTTPX, Nabu is another map, obviously, the favorite and the old school ones. Datasploit, and, as I said, Trufflehawk.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how things have changed and how much more. Because I started in security in 2004. And just to see that, and I got my first pen testing job in 2012, but to see how things have changed, I mean, it's so much more complicated than what it used to be,
It is,
you know,
but it's more
with a
fun
lot of the,
now. I think
yeah,
AI has changed and shifted the game a lot. But I think for us as security people, I think it's becoming more interesting. It was becoming a bit dull and run of the mill for past few years, trying same payload, same tools, right, running same scripts. But AI coming into the picture, there are now two avenues. One, attacking the AI itself. So that's interesting in itself. We are seeing some new attack vectors. Even we are doing some interesting pen test around AI, writing a handbook which will soon release free and again. And the other avenue is using AI to do the attack part, right? People are creating agentic setups. Even we are thinking about how to create that, and we are on that journey right now. But using AI to attack and attacking the AI, both are very interesting. Maybe someday it will be like AI attacking AI. That would be the, but let's see where it goes. But really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with some of the automation that hopefully it'll get to the point where it's taking away the boring stuff, because one of the things I always hated to do as a pen tester is validating certificate related stuff, SSL, TLS, and you'd have to verify everything, and you have to go through, take screenshots and verify, and sometimes trying to get it to verify something that Nessus found is sometimes near impossible to get it to replicate. And so just going through all that minor stuff that's really low risk and is taking time away from the fun stuff.
Yeah, it was becoming a bit boring, but AI coming to the picture now, even we are learning how to fine tune those LLMs and see what new attack vectors or how they can do it faster and efficiently and take away the boring work, and then we can only do the intelligent work or the thinking part of how to find business logic issues, maybe, right? And not doing those basic just payload stuffing and seeing and hoping them to work. But yeah,
Yes,
interesting.
that's one of the nice things about AI. There seems to have been such a big adoption by the security community that people are creating tools, creating trainings on it. So it's kind of nice. It seemed like that the cloud pen testing and security didn't really take off in the same way, but it's good. Once you get AI in the hands of people that have been doing this stuff manually for years, you can't expect nothing but some really good resources to come out of it.
Yeah. So earlier the process was, if you find something new, there's a new attack surface which you are not aware of in the past, try to find a tooling around it, right? Someone created something open source. Now the process has shifted even for us. Now instead of just finding it online or GitHub or other places, we instead try to create it, right? It's just a matter of giving it to Claude or Cursor, giving them the roadmap, what are we looking for, what are our expectations, giving them some product documentation or the API documentation of that particular technology, and then it gives you a script. And to be honest, in past like 3 to 4 assessments, it has given us actual results. Like a one shot script, we ran it across. Obviously, we tested it in a different environment first and did all the railguarding thing. But once the script was ready, and it actually found stuff for us. So it was really amazing to see that new technology, which we are not very much aware of, learned about it in a day, gave some dump and some details and some documentation to AI, created a script, ran it in a safe environment, checked it across client environment, and boom, you have some vulnerabilities already lying around, which manually I'm not sure if someone would have found.
Yeah. So with your product, how are you leveraging AI in Red Hunt Labs?
Right. So as I mentioned, primarily our product is around discovery and giving you a visibility of what you are exposing. So we have integrated some of the AI stuff already, and some is a work in progress. One of the interesting places is now, earlier we had like 10 to 12 techniques of enumerating subdomains, right? Through certificate transparency report, having our own passive DNS record, and multiple other avenues. AI has shifted the game a bit for us. Now we are finding at least 5 to 10% more, because what we are doing now is we get all the subdomains from our process and then we pass it to AI to predict more, right? So now our LLM is predicting that, hey, I am seeing a pattern. Let's say there's dev-clientdomain.com. Because it is dev, there could be a stage environment. So it is predicting, okay, try stage.clientdomain.com. If it is, let's say, EU1, then it will say, okay, try US2. So it is predicting those subdomains, and we are getting some good results out of that. So that prediction is also becoming better because we have trained it on a specific, our own data lake, which is huge, millions of subdomains already. So it is identifying based on the region, based on the company type, based on the patterns it's seeing, and it is already expanding the attack surface for us. So that is one of the interesting avenues. Secondly, we are also trying to integrate it into our data lake, where we find secrets for companies. So identifying patterns, because sometimes patterns are a little bit hazy. You can't just rely 100% on the regex patterns. So sometimes you have to do anomaly based or other parameters to validate, okay, this matches, but this also has other keywords mentioned around it. So there's a high possibility this is the actual credential or actual token. So it is also helping us reduce the false positive parts there. But yeah, there are other avenues where we are trying to expand. So we have a huge list of patterns of vulnerabilities. So we are trying to train an LLM to predict or create payloads for vulnerabilities. So eventually going the same agentic pen testing route. But it's still in an experimental phase right now, the agentic part. But these two are already part of our system right now.
Very interesting. It's one of the things I think is kind of unique about what you're doing is not everyone that starts a company that has a product like yours starts out from the offensive security background. So it's really interesting. I think that's kind of important, in my opinion, that you understand how things are exploited. So you see things that you run across in your discovery, you have more of an idea of how it could be exploited, maybe compared to someone that just purely is a product company and don't understand the offensive security side.
Exactly. And that is how actually we got the idea of creating this product in the first place, right? We were doing a lot of pen testing and red teaming. And the first question the most of our clients were saying that, hey, I will not give you a lot of details, lot of information. This is my company name. Find whatever and anything possible which is related to us, which belongs to us. So we had a couple of scripts. We had to club them together, some glue code here and there, and then try to enumerate some subdomains, try to find out the technology stack, try to identify and take screenshots of different web applications and then see which one has login, etc., etc. So we thought that why have these so many scripts lying around which are not coupled together very well? Let's create a platform which does all of the things from zero to hero in one shot. Takes some time, but you just give it a domain, and that is all. It discovers your subdomains, your IPs, your mobile applications, your web applications, takes all the screenshots, tags them accordingly, gives them all the severities and importance scores in terms of this has a login page, this is a SSO page, this looks like an old website, this has an old copyright text, right? So more exploitable possibly. This is running an old CMS, identifying the tech stack, identifying what is the hosting environment, GCP, AWS, whatever, right? And then give you a complete picture filtered down without noise. And then you can apply all the types of filters, okay? Sort by, let's say, based on importance score. So this has a login, more important. This is just a static corporate website, maybe not so important, right? So that is what the idea of platform was, to give the attacker all the details they need and then do the attacking part rather than just directly jumping into and taking a IP list, running Nessus, trying to exploit. If it happens, very good. If it doesn't, then just submit a report.
Yeah, having that kind of information could sure make it a lot easier for pen test teams if they already have this information out there. Kind of prevents them from having to go through and collect it.
Yeah, indeed, it becomes very easy. For example, let's say if there's a new CV in the market, right, for XYZ tech, we have already mapped clients' assets. We have already mapped what the tech stack they are running. It's just a matter of mapping which CV belongs to which tech stack. Is the client running that particular tech stack or not? If yes, then try the POC on that. If it works, report it to them directly. If not, tell them that you are using a technology. There's a new CV in the market. You might be exploitable. See if you want to update or fix that or take it behind a VPN. So yeah, it speeds up your process very substantially because you already have that data mapped in. You don't have to do the digging from the initial phase. It's just a matter of connecting two dots which are already.
So how was the transition going from, a practitioner, a hands-on consultant to running a company, starting a company?
It has been a mixed bag, to be honest. Initial days, you don't let go of your consultant, your pen tester shoes. You want to do that everything on your own. You want to test all those web applications, test all those mobile applications, all the IPs, right? But eventually, you have to let that go. You also have to take the founder hat. You have to identify, okay, what will work best, what will add more value for our customers. Sometimes you have to get into the sales hat and understand, okay, how to transition and tell the customer that why is it valuable for them, why they should have an attack surface platform, why they need visibility before taking any of the security products that are out there in the market. So it is a mixed bag. Sometimes it becomes tough because the context switching, as in AI, right? If you switch the context and the context window gets filled up, then it becomes slower. So sometimes the context window from as a founder also becomes filled up and you have to take a short break. Okay, what was my context? What are we discussing? Then you have to jump back to the product. So there's a lot of firefighting, but it's also a very interesting and elevating journey compared to just being a practitioner. Because now I see myself having at least some understanding of most of the fields related to my business. Understand a bit of sales, I understand a bit of tech, I understand a bit of being that offensive guy. So when I go to customer, they are better convinced because I don't just come as a salesperson. I come as a practitioner who has done this, who knows this in and out, and I can answer not just their price related queries, but I can also answer their tech related query. What security means for them. Is it a compliance driven security? Is it actual they want to protect their clients' data? Is it something of importance for them which is out there where they are really scared about? So I can convince them in that manner. I can wear that hat and help them understand what is important for them and why this will help them.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have people within your organization that are technical, because I work for several product companies, and sometimes as sales engineers, maybe the product they have is related to offensive security and they've never worked in offensive security and they don't know anything past the pitch deck. Customer starts asking about different use cases, and either they give them a wrong answer or they got to go back to engineering to find out. So, I mean, it makes such a better experience for the person looking into your product whenever you can, share different use cases for them, answer questions based on what they have, because, the pitch deck doesn't always cover all the scenarios.
It doesn't. And every customer has unique needs and unique use case for which they might want to procure your product, right? So we ensure that every sales call, some of the technical people, or at least one of the technical people, are part of that discussion, because salespeople may not have all the technical know-how. They don't know how the product was built, what was the actual use case, how it operates, what are the nitty-gritties behind it, how will it scale for a particular customer. Maybe a customer has 200,000 assets and they don't have the idea of how the AWS scaling might help them or actually be able to support them or not in the longer term. So having that technical know-how, having someone who can not just answer their sales query, their pricing and budgeting query, but also their technical requirements. Where does this fit into their journey? Understand, and not just telling them, but also asking relevant questions, right? It's also important to understand what the customer needs. What are they looking for? Are they looking for compliance of sorts? Are they looking to get their specific assets secured? And then you can pitch and shift your direction onto that particular problem and give them particular value. If they are looking for one asset to be secured, it's just a pen test that they need, maybe, right? If they are looking for visibility, then the ASM comes into the picture in the longer run, maybe. So you have to shift at gears and understand what they need, what are their pain points, and then consult them rather than just try to sell them.
Very good. So we're getting down towards the end of the episode. Is there anything you'd like to share that we didn't get to discuss?
I think we covered a lot of ground. We talked about my journey, about the recon part, which is very near and dear to me. Apart from that, we talked about our company as well. So I don't see a lot missing. I can't actually remember anything that we missed as part of this whole conversation, which is very intriguing for me. Nope, I don't think we missed anything. I think we covered a lot of ground.
Well, appreciate you taking time. And once again, it was great to meet you at Black Hat Middle East and Africa. And I look forward to seeing you this year in Las Vegas if we don't run into each other sooner.
Definitely, definitely, Philip. And it was lovely of you to bring me to this podcast. Thank you for having me. Lovely to meet you, and looking forward to meet you at Black Hat US as well.
Thanks. Look forward to it. Thanks everyone for joining. And we'll have in the show notes Sudhanshu's LinkedIn profile, URL to his company, and where you can find some of the open source tools that they have out there that you could use for your reconnaissance. So we're going to put that information in there, and please subscribe and share with your friends. One of the best things you can do when trying to learn and help others is share information. So please share this episode and subscribe. And until next time, take care.
Take care, folks. Thanks, Philip. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Phillip Wylie Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter at Phillip Wylie. Until next time.